Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video and following my Shadow Priest Ultimate Beginner's Guide. So if you're interested in starting a Shadow Priest and working your way up to Gladiator and some of the higher ranks with the better gear so you can dominate people in PvP, check out that video. I'll have it linked at the end here. But in this one, I'm just going to be going over my gameplay, talking about what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, what I'm trying to accomplish, and even what I'm doing wrong when I note that I'm doing something wrong, because that's going to be where we really learn where to advance ourselves. And I recommend that you even do this with your own gameplay. Just download something like OBS, which is free software, record your games just like I do, and then watch your game back, and then look for the similar things to what I'm doing. I'm not saying I'm perfect, right? But you can also look at the things that I'm doing wrong. Maybe you're also doing wrong, sort of your sequence of damage. You always want to activate Void Form before activating any of your harder hitting attacks, because they will be amplified from your talents such as Ancient Madness or Hungering Void. Usually you may, it's kind of, sometimes you don't, sometimes you need to sneak into mind games before the target's going to run out of line of sight. That's usually been where I've had most of my debate on my Shadow Priest play, was as to whether or not I should Void Form all the time before casting mind games or cast mind games first. And it's situational, but it depends on if the healer is near a pillar or not near a pillar, and you're going to always have to gauge that. In this video, I'm fighting a mage, so I'm going to be going over how to maximize your damage and how to also support your team. So this is interrupting crowd control, mass dispelling crowd control, and using mind control to try and stop incoming crowd control, because your main objective when you're not the target is to maximize your damage and help your shaman out, or help your healer out in any case, with crowd control incoming from the mage and the feral. And you will get a lot of teams from LFG if you become good at this, because healers hate when their DPS just ignore them and they're just line of sighting and they're doing nothing. So if you take some advice from this video, it's probably going to net you some friends in the future. But right off the bat, I usually cast Power Word Shield against any team that has stealth, so the feral druid is invisible. We can't see who they're going to attack, so I want to just add a little bit of a buffer with Power Word Shield on as many targets as possible. I tell my Warlock to run out into midfield. This is so that if the Warlock gets opened on, they can just use their Demonic Circle back to the starting room and avoid all the damage from the Feral Druid initially. Our Shaman stays very far back, and then I push towards the center tomb to try and get combat on the Mage, because they were being a little bit patient on their Invis, not able to find it. Here I see Rake Stun on my Warlock, so I know they're going Warlock. I want to try and crowd control their healer and do as much damage as possible, so I'm going to stun them and try and dot them up. Unfortunately, I get interrupted, and here is my first mistake. When you're going for a stun on the healer, don't bother casting. Just use Damnation and use Instant Cast Void Form. This way you'll get all of your damage out. Usually you want to Shadow Fiend, then cast Void Form, then Damnation, so they all crit, and then Mind Games. So my opener here using the stun on the Priest was not optimal, and just this is me noting my own play, and this is something you could do for yourself. You should always stun Damnation the healer, so you don't need to worry about getting interrupted. From this point now, we're going to be a little bit behind and our combo is disrupted. So I think that I need to start focusing on defense. I see the mage casting Polymorph, so I channel Mass Dispel. Unfortunately, the crowd control ended on my shaman prematurely. They were able to interrupt the Polymorph, but you do want to always be looking for incoming polymorphs. Now that I don't have Mass Dispel, I'm going to need to focus on healing my Warlock using Power Word Shield, so I'm running towards my Warlock to try and support as much as I can here. I life grip the Warlock back away from the Feral Druid, who just used Wild Charge to chase him into the room, so using life grip after your lock uses Portal is a good idea generally. Now I use Damnation, Silence, and Void Form, but because I didn't have my stun and it's all desynced now, you can see that we may have been able to get a trinket from the Priest, possibly killed the Priest. You always want to coordinate the stun and the silence together. Here I was just a bit desperate going for it, and I think it would be more wise for me to wait for the stun and silence to sync up again rather than using them desynced. If you are going to use your stun and silence not at the same time on the healer, you should be using them on DPS, so silencing a mage on combustion or stunning the feral druid right when they're about to kill a target. Here at this point, I'm figuring it's a discipline priest. We can win by running them out of mana, so I'm just going to get dots on as many targets as possible, line of sight crowd control, push on top of them a little bit and be aggressive. They're more of a setup comp. Here they start moving in. This means that they want to start engaging crowd control. You need to start getting ready. And I start looking where my shaman is. Where is he going? He's running to the pillar. Polymorph cast gets lined. And I'm still watching the mage because I see him chasing the shaman. And they polymorph me. And I'm really just getting ready to mass dispel. So I'll mind control the mage. I'm just buying time for my shaman's grounding to come off cooldown. Time for wind shear to come off cooldown. I'm really just stalling. And this whole time that I'm stalling, they're dying to dots. So just be as annoying as possible, pay attention to the mage's positioning, and try and slow down their crowd control as much as possible while still maintaining dots on as many targets as you can. I stun the priest again, not with the silence perfectly lined up. It's coming up in about 1 second. I likely should have held this, and then I go for a mass dispel mid-chain attacking their priest, so I was obviously doing too much all at once. Here I decide to silence the mage instead, as Fire Mage can just pull combustion out of nowhere here. I was a bit worried about it. However, waiting until the combustion was actually used would have been more wise in this position. I fear the priest away as I see the priest coming in towards my shaman. This is to prevent the priest from fearing my shaman and give them more time to get Tremor Totem down for the Psychic Scream and reposition and get to a better place. Meanwhile, my Warlock is just 1v1ing the Feral in the starting room and is winning that, which means the priest and mage now are coming out into the open, and we can more freely attack the mage and the priest at this point in time. When you're interrupted, you want to be spamming Purge, you want to be removing shields, and these are the most important effects, in making sure the mage is roughly clean in terms of their buffs, so that when combustion is popped, you can try and get it instantly. Here I go for a Mind Games with no Void Farm, because the priest is in line of sight and just about to get around the corner, and as a result of sneaking in the Mind Games in a full row of dots before they could escape, they end up dying. It's also important to coordinate with your healer, tell your healer to do damage. My shaman was lava bursting the priest when you're casting Mind Games, because that's where the biggest amount of damage is going to come out, is during that Mind Games window. And if you're able to utilize that, you're going to be able to get a ton of damage. You can see even in this game that I'm making significant errors, and this is why, even if you think that you're playing perfectly, and this is why I wanted to bring up a video like this, even if you think that you're the best or there's really nothing you could do better, if you go back and you watch the game, slow it down and really look at what am I trying to accomplish in the game at any moment? Why am I standing where I'm standing? Am I trying to play defensive at the right time? Am I trying to play aggressive at the right time? And if you start going back to the VODs, looking at these mistakes and then noticing them in the next game that you try to play, so not stunning the priest and casting and getting interrupted, for example, at the start of the game, or waiting until my stun and silence are synced up together so that I can stun into a silence on the healer rather than having them split up. Again, I think my mentality here, maybe in this game I was a little bit, and I'm trying to come up with excuses now for the mistakes, but against disciplined priests, I do like playing defensively and just surviving until they run out of mana. I generally like that playstyle on Shadow Priest, especially when you're playing double caster. So my mindset was probably jumping between, I want to go all out on their healer, I want to try and dampen, what do I want to do? And because I was in the middle of not sure of what I wanted to do, it ended up just looking really sloppy. So you should likely pick one or the other. Are you going to go all out on their healer, try and set up for kills there, or are you going to focus only on defense? Good idea to focus on defense when the enemy has cooldowns like Combustion and Berserk available. So the start of the game, focus on defense, and then towards the center part of the game, shift that into let's try and kill their healer. This is usually a better strategy, as if you go head to head with a Fire Mage and Combustion, don't do that. Aside from that, I think that in this match in particular, it was carried by my Warlock's ability to avoid damage and portal and buy me time despite these mistakes. So this is why it's also nice to have it be a team game, where if you end up making mistakes, your teammates can kind of cover you up for those. Not that you should rely on them to do that, but it's one of the nice parts of it. I could have utilized Fade more in this game as a point of critique, and I could have utilized Shadow Word Death more. The main reason that I could have utilized Shadow Word Death is that you can use Death, and if it doesn't kill a target, it'll do damage to you. When it does damage to you, it will break Polymorph. So if I see the mage casting Polymorph on me, and if you're a Shadow Priest player, you want to always cast Shadow Word Death right as the Polymorph cast finishes. that will then break your polymorph. And I think in this Night of Qs, if you want to watch me on twitch.tv/Supatease, I was doing that more and more throughout, but it's something you should just actively be trying to pay attention to. You can download add-ons as well, like Gladiator Losa. This will be an audio add-on. I know a lot of people get memed when they use it, but if you're just starting and your awareness is really low and you're just drowned out by trying to look at everything on the screen, Gladiator Losa will just give you an audio. It'll say polymorph, and that means the mage is casting polymorph. So you'll hear it, and your eye will look where the mage is, and you'll be like, is it on me? Shadow Word Death. Try and break the polymorph. You can use Fade as well to immune crowd control. This is like you're getting really high level play at that point. In this game, I was a bit worried about getting swapped to, but as long as you have Dispersion, you can get away a little bit with using Fade to avoid crowd control. And then what it will allow you to do is enable you to save your partners while they're stun locked. So if the priest is going to fear me, my shaman's in a poly, I could have faded the fear, immuned it, and then gripped my warlock, for example. So I didn't get to use that in this video, but it's something that you should actively try to do. It's something that I'm going to actively try to do on my path of improving at Shadow Priest. And I just wanted to share some of my gameplay with you, go over what I'm doing to try and improve and get better so that hopefully you can also utilize it as well. And other than that, thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video.